Hey everybody, welcome to live streaming with Jesse. Today we're going to get into some Redux, which we set up yesterday. So if you want to see how you do the initial setup to incorporate Redux into your React project, check out yesterday's stream. Today we're going to figure out how we want to structure our store. So from what I understand, you should think about how you're going to structure your store before you really start building out everything for your app. So we're going to put some thought into that at first. The last time I did a Redux project, I didn't completely figure out what I wanted to do with the store, and it ended up causing me to have to redo a bunch of stuff. Probably like 2 or 3 times I changed my mind on how I wanted to do that. So definitely caused more work in the long run. So I don't want a repeat of that. Let's see. I think we'll do at least 2 Pomodoro sessions of coding today. In between those, we'll do a 5-minute session of question and answer. And then, of course, at the end, I'll answer all the rest of the questions. So if you're new to the stream, that's kind of the order that we go in. And I know there's some stuff going on today. So I know Google's has live stream stuff going on. Not sure how many people want to watch this stream when we have other stuff going on. There's a conference too going on that I see people on Instagram are posting a lot of stuff from the conference. It's like it's a women in tech conference. I can't remember what the official name of it was, but it looks like a pretty big conference. So not sure if they're live streaming, but if so, it's possible. Okay, so the Google stream just ended. All right, cool. So we won't be competing with the Google stream. Now, for those of you who watched the Google stream, so this is going to be a somewhat unrelated question here, but I watched a little bit of the stream. You know, the stuff looked cool. I didn't get to see everything. For some reason, the stream just kept freezing for me, and so I missed a lot. But I have a Pixel XL, and it looks like I might be able to get like $400 to trade in my Pixel XL. And if I get a Pixel 2 XL, it would cost a little over $500, assuming that I got the 400. If I do the payment plan, it might be like somewhere around 25 US dollars per month, which is, it's doable. So what do you think? Is it worth it now to upgrade from the Pixel XL to the Pixel 2 XL, or should I just wait till next year and keep this Pixel for 2 years before I trade it in? So I was going to just wait till next year, but then I saw how much I could get for the trade-in and thought, wow, that's nice. So anyway, I'm a little bit undecided right now about it. And it did sweeten the deal a little bit that you get a free Google Home Mini, I think that's what they're calling it, if you do get the Pixel 2. So little added bonus. But anyway, I'm undecided, so let me know. Okay, so Cronus says wait till Black Friday. Rohan says wait for next year. William says just buy it outright. Interesting. So you think if I buy it outright and then just try to sell my Pixel, my current Pixel phone, I could get more money for it? Assuming that's why I would just buy it outright. I didn't think about that, but I'll have to see how much they go for. Okay, so let's get... Alright, so Rohan thinks it's not really that big of an upgrade. Yeah. Yeah, I really didn't think that there was that much that was better with the phone. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into it more and see if it's better. All right, so let's get started. Yesterday I forgot to go over some of the pull requests that we received. So at the end, after we do the coding, but at the beginning of the question and answer session, I'm going to try to remember to go over those. Let's see. Let's bring over our Pomodoro, and we have our, yeah, this is the right. I have quite a few terminals open, but this is, yeah, this is the right one. Okay, great. Let's see. Not sure what I changed. Okay, I got rid of. Okay, so I never committed that. Sorry. Sorry that I didn't commit that stuff. Let's see. What did we do? Import views. Alright, let me start this. First thing I'm going to do is commit some of this stuff to GitHub so you all can check it out. The link to the GitHub repository is in the description for this video now. So you'll be able to see everything that we're working on GitHub. Also, let's get ngrok running. And let's see. I have it. Yeah, so I have things going on a terminal on another window. Let me see what's 3001. Okay. So alright, so I'm going to paste into the live chat the link. So that link should work. I will double check as well to make sure it's working. Okay, great. So it is working. Yeah, it looks like I can see a lot of activity there. So if you're not familiar with this, this will allow you to see in real time what's going on when we make changes on your own computer, and that way you could open up DevTools, you can check things out. This you won't have. I'm not 100% sure about this, but potentially, let me try this out. You might even be able to use the Redux Chrome extension. Let's see if it works. State. Yeah, okay, so this actually works. So whenever we're creating our store, you'll be able to have access to this as well. So assuming that you get this for Chrome, and I don't remember what it's called. What did we call it in our app.js? Redux DevTools extension. Alright, so I try Redux DevTools extension and see if that's the name. If it's not, let me know. I could look up what the name of it was officially so you can get that. But that'll be really helpful to understand what's going on with Redux. Okay. So let me bring over, I'm going to run on localhost 3001. Okay. So right now we have the most basic of apps here. But we have a couple of routes in here. We don't have them linked, but if we typed it into our address bar, we could go to the other routes. let me get commit, and what did we do? We added routes. That's about what we did. Okay, so that code is now on GitHub. Now let's think about what we want to do for our store. So we'll need to think about two things. So one, what are we going to actually display to the user? What are we going to do with the data? And then also, what's the data looking like as it's coming in? So we're using WordPress as our content management system, and we're getting data from the WordPress API. So we can check out how that data looks. And let me bring up just some sample WordPress API data. I know I have a test. I'm pretty sure I have a test WordPress installation somewhere just for this. So let me do a quick check. Oops. Yeah, I typed in the wrong address. Here we go. I'm doing this on my other screen, but I'll pull it over just in a minute when I get the right thing. Okay, awesome. Let me bring this over. Okay, so here, I actually just pulled this off of my own website, which if you go there, know that I have not updated this for quite a while. So the actual design is 5 years old, maybe, at least 5 years old. The content has been updated maybe like 2.5 years ago, and nothing has happened since then. So be kind if you comment on it. But I do have some posts on there. So this is what the data is going to look like. We can change how this data comes in. So if we don't need every bit of this data, we can filter that out. So this is just an example of the basic data you'd get from the WordPress API if you didn't have anything else running but just the API. So no extra plugins, no custom post types. So we're going to get an array of objects. Everything's going to have certainly a unique ID. The dates, those will probably be important to us. The only other fields that we'd really care about would be probably the status, right? We don't want to pull in drafts. The slug, we're not worried about the link. We want to know the type. If we end up having custom post types, we definitely want to know what type it is. Certainly the title and the content. Not really worried about the excerpt. Maybe we'll want that, but I don't usually use it. Let's see. We don't need the author. We will need something with the featured media, but what I'll probably do is use a plugin so that we can get some better data. Our categories and tags, we will need information on these, but again, I'll probably use a plugin so that we can get better data. Right now, we just get the number 43, right? So that means the category with the ID 43, which isn't that helpful. I want to know what's the name of the category, what's the slug. So we'll be doing something different for that, and that's about it. So a lot of this stuff we won't even worry about. But one thing I would like to do once we get this data in is when it's in the store, I don't want it just like this. What I want it is in the format of, and I'll make this smaller. Do I really only have 2 posts? I guess so. So what I want is to pull the ID. So assuming the ID numbers are all unique, which I'm pretty sure that that is the case, we can either use the ID or the slug. But for now, let's just say we're going to use the ID. So we'll have our array, and then we're going to have key value pairs, where the ID becomes the key, and then the value is this object. Okay, so what that will allow us to do then is to we'll have our posts in the store, and when we want to pull in more posts and merge those new posts in, it'll check based on the ID, and it'll only update, it'll only add those posts that have a different ID, or potentially update the posts that have the same ID. And then we can keep the other stuff in the store. We'll be able to reference those by ID if we need to. So that's basically the structure of the store. What I want it to be structured like. We're probably going to run into some other things, like maybe we'll want to add some data into here that we can't get from WordPress. So if that happens, we'll deal with that when we get to it. But first step is just to bring this data in and then change it to the format that we want. So for now, I'm just going to use this data from my own website, and eventually we'll probably want to bring in some data that's closer to what we're actually going to use, but this will work for now. So let's get this set up to actually pull in some of the data. We'll need to, let's see, we'll do this. What do you make our API calls? So let's pull in, let's make another folder. So another directory. We're going to do this in our source, and we're going to call this and then we're gonna make a file in there. It's gonna be let's call this, actually let me double check. I'd like to use the same naming conventions that I've been using for my previous Redux project, just to make it consistent. So I'm going to bring this up on my other screen in GitHub, and if you want to check it out, that's the Udacity React ND readable project on my GitHub profile, which I'll just post the link into the live chat. So this will be an example of an entire Redux app that's already finished and working. So our app that we're building won't look exactly like this, but it will share some elements. Okay, so let's go with post API. Okay, so now that we have this, everything that we're going to need to get data from WordPress, we're going to put in here. Yeah, so that'll keep it separate, and it won't clutter up our other files. So let's go with For some WordPress, we're going to export. Let's call this fetch posts. And we're going to use fetch. So if you're not familiar with the fetch API, this is a way to make basically what you would use Ajax for, or some people use Axios. There's some other libraries, I guess, that can do the same thing. But fetch is it's newer. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's newer, and I like using it. I think it's very simple. So check it out if you haven't used it yet. You're definitely going to see an example of using it here, and we've used it for I think all of the projects that we've needed to make an API call for that we've worked on this stream. We've used fetch for that. So let's get our URL, and where is this at? Where did I put that? I cannot find where I put that data. Am I losing my mind here? I hope I didn't. There we go. Here it is. Alright, so here's our data. And so we're just going to grab that, because that's where we need to make the call to. So we're going to fetch that, and we shouldn't need, I don't think we need any headers with this. We'll try it without it. If we end up needing some, I'll go back and check out some of the code from a previous project and just see how we did it on that project. But we should be able to just go from here, and then we're going to have our data, and let's go. Alright, JSON, and that's it. I think that's all we need for right now. We may grab some different things here, so this is probably not all we're gonna do, but this will work for now. So let's save that, and then let's connect this. So we're going to connect this into our actions. So let's find our actions. Those are our reducers. Oh, here, I already had the actions up. So here's our actions. So what we'll do is we're going to make, let's see, we're going to have to import what we had just done here. Import to from utils. Okay, so now we've imported this, and then right now we only have one export, but when you put this here, that is just going to bring in all the exports. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's why we're just bringing it in. I'm anticipating possibly having more here, so I'm just going to do it like this right off the bat. Okay, so now going to bring in, let's make sure, post, and Let's go with dispatch. Okay, so we're bringing in the dispatch because we're going to, after we make the API call, we're going to dispatch this action. So it'll be kind of a two-step process. So from our component, we're going to dispatch this action. That's why we're exporting this. Then it's going to make the API call, get the data, and then pass that data as posts into this action when it dispatches that action. Okay, and then from here, it's going to go to the reducers. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go, what do we call this? Post API util. And then we're going to go fetch posts, right? So from the post API util, we're calling fetch post. And then we don't need to pass anything, right? So everything it needs is right here. And then let me go, then we want our posts here, and let's dispatch we're going to dispatch get posts, and we do need to pass it our posts. Alright, so probably not formatted in the best way, but we'll get our auto formatting in. I did not set up the plugin in Atom to do the formatting for me yet, but when we commit, we'll get our formatting. Okay, I think that's everything I need. Let's save it, just to see if we get any errors. Yep, we did. Okay. Import and body of module reorder to the top. Okay, so what did I do? I need to import it to top. Okay. Alright. If that's our only error, then I'm fine with that. Okay, great. So now that we have that done, we actually need to call this from inside of a component. So let's go to our home page, and if you remember, we took out part of this here, so we're going to need to put that back in. So let me grab it. So I have it in another repository. I'm just going to copy and paste it from there. Okay, so actually I'll type this out because it'll be easier for me to explain it. I think if I type it, it might be, I don't know, I think it would be easier to comprehend if we go step by step instead of me pasting a bunch of stuff in there all at once. So we're going to go map dispatch to props, and then we can, let's use this here. Alright, so now we'll have dispatch available in our props, and then also I'm going to say fetch data, and we're going to, let's see, do we need to pass? No, we don't need, we're not going to pass anything right now. We're going to dispatch fetch posts, and that's where we're going to make that call. Now we need to import fetch posts, so let's bring that in. Oh, actually, and I did not, I just commented that out. Alright, so now we can bring in fetch posts from actions, right? So in our actions, we are exporting fetch posts. And on, where are we at? Components. Let's see. Component amounts. This props fetch data. Okay, so let's make sure fetch data, dispatch, fetch props, fetch posts. Okay. Alright, let's see if this works. Make sure I save these two, and we'll give it a shot. Alright, what do we have here? This props fetch data is not a function. What did I get wrong? Dispatch to props. Oh, okay. I never brought in map dispatch to props here. So I do need to bring this in as well. Map dispatch to props. There we go. Let's see. Alright, great. So now we don't have the error. Let's check our store. There we go. Cool. So you can see under received posts, we now have our data. And this data can be available to any component. Okay, so all we have to do, since this is in the store, is just pull in our data. We can map state to props and have that available. So we can even see, so within our component state, React, why is React not turning on? So for some reason, there we go. For some reason it wasn't working when I was clicking on the drop down. But let's go into here, home. If we check out our, so we have our dispatch, our fetch data, where are we at? Location match. Is it here? Where's our state? Store. What am I missing? Actually, this is odd. I should be able to see the state, or I should be able to see it in props. What am I missing? Is it here? Okay, maybe did I forget to start my timer, or did it go off and I didn't hear it? Okay, so I'm definitely gonna take I'm gonna take my short break now and do question and answer. So sorry about that. Obviously it's been longer than the 25 minutes, so alright, so I'm going to take a break from that for just a second, and if it's not clear, what I'm worried about is I expected to see something different for props, so maybe I'm just mistaken, but we'll check that out in a few minutes. So I'm going way up to the top of the live chat. I'm just going to work my way down, look for questions or any comments that pertaining to this part of the project, and then later on I'll go over all the rest of it when we're done with the coding portion. Scarno asks, are you going to write tests? I would like to write some tests. I'm not great with writing tests, so I'm gonna have to think about how I'd want to write those, what I'm going to use, and then learn how to do it. So I'd like to, but I haven't made any decisions regarding that yet. Let's see. Kronis says, when will you use C++ for this project? For this project, which is project 4, I'm not going to be using C++. For project 3, which we'll be going back to occasionally, we are using C#, but I don't have any projects where I'm currently using C++. Let's see. Alright, so Marco says, hi Jesse, first time here. Finally, I catch you streaming. Greetings from Brazil. Hey, how's it going? I noticed you had a comment on the last video saying that you never get to catch the live stream. So really glad that you could be involved in the live stream today. So feel free to ask any questions or throw your opinion in there in the live chat. Let's see. Alright, so I'm not going to read this person's name so they don't get in any legal trouble, but someone keeps asking how to hack a Facebook account without a phishing page. I am not going to answer that question. So normally I answer any questions, but that question seems like the type of question that will not lead to anything good. So sorry about that, but we're not going to talk about hacking Facebook pages on this stream. So if you do want to stick around, to the person that's talking about hacking Facebook pages, if you do want to stick around, watch the stream, ask some other questions not related to hacking, that's awesome. If you keep asking the hacking question over and over again, then I don't want to, maybe I'll block, I don't know, it depends. If there's a huge wall of questions, then maybe it would be too much, but it looks like as I'm scrolling down there's not a lot of questions. We'll see. Okay. Nisar asks, is your ASP.NET Core project 3 for beginners? I see a lot of complication in that project. Some of that project is definitely could be for beginners. It's just kind of basic, just building a layout, HTML, CSS. The parts of the project where we're actually going through some of the C# and trying to build out the templates could be a little bit more complicated. It just depends on your background, I guess. But I have a different approach to that project. So the next time we do a stream for project 3, I'll introduce kind of my new approach that'll allow it to be a little bit more interactive and allow me to accept pull requests and things. So so maybe that'll make it a little bit more beginner friendly. Hopefully it will. All right. So John B loves the minimal design so far. Home, this is the home page. Yeah. I just want to be user-friendly and as straightforward as possible, so I didn't want there to be any confusion that that's the home page. All right. David says, where are you from, Jesse? I guess south. Actually, so right now I'm in Steubenville, Ohio, but I grew up in West Virginia, but probably not the type of West Virginia that you think of when you think of stereotypical West Virginia. So I grew up in the most northern part of West Virginia, which is actually about 20 minutes away from Pittsburgh. It's right there on the same latitude of Pittsburgh. So anyway, so that's where I'm from. Actually, the city where I'm from, according to Jeopardy and Alex Trebek, is the only city in the United States that borders two different states. So the part of the city that I lived in, the end of my street was Pennsylvania, and then the other side of the city borders the Ohio River, and of course the state of Ohio. So anyway, I could at one point I could walk in my backyard and go into Pennsylvania right through my backyard. So I always thought that was kind of cool. I used to stand on that spot and say, like, I'm in between states. I don't know. Anyway, but that's where I'm from. Let's see. Let me see my timer went off. For some reason it's not beeping. It used to beep in my, I could hear it in my headphones. So I'm just gonna have to make sure I keep checking this because I'm not getting that that beeping sound. I'm gonna refresh, just see if it helps. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna come back. I did notice William says nice about page photo. I don't remember what photo that is. I'm gonna check it on my other screen quickly, because now I wonder what picture I have on there. Oh man, that's when I had my hair longer. I need to change that. So I'm not going to show that on the stream. You're welcome to look it up if you want, but I need to do something else with that site. Okay. So back to coding. Let's restart our timer. And all right, let me think. What is post? Receive post. Okay, that makes sense. Receive post. Was that my problem? There we go. Okay, now we have it. So now you can see in the props for home, we have posts, and that's because we brought in here this part of the state, right, receive posts, as posts. Okay, so the problem there was just that I had the wrong word there. Okay, great. So we're bringing this data in. Now at this point we could display it, you know, on the page, but I want to change the structure of it. So there's really no point in doing anything to display it right now, because that wouldn't work. I just checked the live chat, and it looks like a few of you have checked out that photo. So all right. Let's see. Okay, so let's, in our reducers, where's our reducers? Here we go. Alright, so we're going to handle restructuring things in our reducers. So if you're checking out the other GitHub repo that I'm getting a lot of these examples from, you can check out the reducers now, and that's where I'm going to get some of the basic code from to do this. Okay, so right now you can see we have our post, and it's just in an array, right? So we have 0 and 1, and then our objects. As I said earlier, instead of the 0 and 1, what I really want is to have the basically to change this into an object with key value pairs. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do to make that happen. So within our reducers, I'm going to make a little helper function. Now, I'm not sure if this is the best place to put this, if it might be better to make this a separate component. But for now, I'm going to put it in here, and we can, later on think about whether or not we'd want to put it in a different component. Okay, so I'm just going to call this function make object, because that's basically what it's going to do. It's going to take it in its form as an array, right? We're going to turn it into an object, and we're going to bring in our items. So for now it's going to be post, but potentially we could do this with anything. So just kind of generically we'll call it items, and we're going to make a new object, and we're just going to set that to be an empty object for now. And then I'm just going to do a really simple for loop. There might be a better way to do it. There probably is, but for loops, easy to understand. It's easy for me, and probably easy for a lot of the people watching. I know before I got better with some of the newer JavaScript, a lot of the tutorials that I read that used the newer stuff were very confusing because of just the newer syntax. The concepts, I think, would have been a lot easier to get if it weren't for the newer syntax. So I do use the newer syntax for a lot of things, but in this case, hopefully it makes it a little bit more user-friendly. Okay, so basic loop. We're going to grab our items. We want items.length, right? Because remember, items is coming in as an array. Yeah, and we're just going to go through the items. Okay, so we did use let. So if you're not familiar with that, we're using let in const instead of variables. So instead of, var, right, we're using const, and this is a constant. And then let. Now, I'm not going to go into everything about these, but basically you make a constant and you try to mutate that constant later on, you're going to get an error for the most part. With let, you can change what let is, obviously, but it's scoped, it's block scoped, right? So I could use let here, and then I could use let in another for loop, right? I could use, or I'm sorry, I could use let I equals whatever in a lot of different places. Since it's block scoped, it would be fine. I don't have to come up with different variables for iterators. I mean, that's not the main reason why you would use let, but in this case, I think it's just kind of an easy way to kind of show the block scoping. All right, so within this for loop, we're going to make some more constants. And if you're not sure about when to use const and when to use let, generally, from my experience and from what I've been told from others, you should pretty much use const by default, and then you only use let if you really need to use let. Let's see. Okay, so we have our item ID. So we're going to grab the ID equals item ID. Whoa, it's not what I wanted. ID. Alright, so we're not finished yet, but just so far to show. So we're iterating over these, so we're getting our item. So for this particular, for each particular run through this loop, our item is just going to be that item, or the at that position in the array. Then we're going to grab our ID. I do want to double check in the data structure. I think it's ID, but let's double check so that doesn't cause problems. Yep, ID. Okay, so we're going to grab the ID, which for our first one will be 772. Then what we want to do is get our new object, and we're going to go item ID equals item, right? So here's what we're doing. So I don't want to confuse anyone. So we've made this constant, right? And I just said that you can't mutate a constant, but in this case, if we're adding things to an object that's a constant, right? That will work. But I couldn't say new object equals a string called string, right? And then down here say new object equals 5. Okay, that we get an error on that. All right, so then our new object needs to be returned. So what this will do is take, well, I'll show you. Let me show you the data, and then it'll be obvious what it does. So let's save that, and let's call this from inside our receive posts. So instead of merging the state with just action.posts, which is just the data we're getting in from the API, we're going to change that data a little bit by merging it with what we get returned from make object. So let's save that. Now let's check out our store. There we go. So you see the difference now? So now we have our object, right? This is no longer an array. This is an object with key value pairs, and our keys are the IDs, and then the value is all the rest of the data for that item. Okay. And then, so now that you've seen it, you can tell, right, that's just what we've done. Right, we've broken down that array, and instead we've made an object with the ID, right, as the key, and then everything else as the value. Okay, now here's the thing. This is going to be, actually I got some stuff coming to live chat, so let's see, shorter version. Oh, okay, cool. So Kevin is typing out in the live chat a shorter version. So let's go ahead and refactor this right now for the shorter version. So hopefully you kind of understood what was going on here. It may or may not be easier to understand it once we refactor. So let's do that now. Okay, so in our for loop, we're going to use a for of loop. Okay, so it's going to be for item. Okay, so our for of loop is, we're just making whatever we can. This could be whatever we want to call it. Okay, but we're calling it item of, and then we're pulling in our items array here. So for item of items. So within here, item is going to basically be the same thing as it was before, but that's a little bit of a shorter way to write that for loop. And I would say, honestly, if you were just starting out, I think this makes more sense in terms of explaining what's happening than the other way we did the for loop with the iterator. Alright, and we're going to shorten this up by saying new object, item ID. Let's see. So we can get rid of this, right, because now we've taken care of it up here. And then we can also get rid of this because we've moved it down to here. So a lot shorter. So let's save that, and then it works. Yay. Alright, cool. Cool. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Definitely shorter, and more concise is usually almost always better. All right, great. So now that we have that, let's let me check how much time we have. Okay, 10 minutes. Okay, not bad. Let's actually get some of this onto the page. So as much as this design now is amazing and minimal, I think it might be more helpful to the users if we displayed a bit more information. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many times I would come back to this page. You know, I just probably could remember that this is the home page. So we're going to put some more info on there. Now let's go to our home page, and we're going to make a more proper return. So we're going to use the old school way of returning, not this newfangled React 16 way. So, oh wow, did Sebastian typed up an even shorter way of doing this? Let's make object equals items. Alright, let me copy and paste this. Alright, let's check out Sebastian's even shorter way. And I'm going to paste this in right above at first, just so we can compare. Okay, so here we go. So we have const make object, and then we're using an arrow function, so we're passing in items. And then we have our new object. We're mapping over our items, and then we're making our key value pairs and returning the new object. So let me see, is that really shorter? Let's break this down a bit just to compare if this would really be that much shorter. So how would I normally do this? New object. Yeah, I guess that's how I would break this up. Okay. Alright, so once I space this out, it actually ends up being the same amount of lines. Alright. So let's see. I'm going to move on from this because I mean, I like this. This is cool, but we're going to run out of time and not be able to display any data. So yeah, so map would normally be able to auto return these. So do we even need return to object? Well, I guess, right, we don't want to just return this each time. I mean, as the entire thing. All right, I'll let you all discuss this in more depth. For now, let's comment one of them out so that we can work on this. All right, 5 minutes now. 6 minutes almost. Okay, so let's bring in. Okay, so we're already getting. We know we're already getting the data in here. It's getting passed in as props post, and let's. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is let's make a div just to be a container. And then within there, we're going to map, let's get this, props post. And so we're going to check if this props post is there, then what we're going to do is go object. Okay, so I'm gonna this is gonna seem weird, but we're gonna change this back into an array because I want to be able to use map and filter and sort on this. So we're gonna change this back. Is props post, and then we're gonna filter. Actually, do we need to filter right now? No, I mean at some point we will be filtering these, but right now I don't think we need to worry about that. So let's go map post and within here for now let's just do an h1 and we'll give it a key of post dot id, and then we're going to put in the post dot title rendered. Okay, so that rendered isn't anything special. That's just the way the data is organized in WordPress. And let's try that out. It should work. Oh, let's double check. No? What did I do wrong? Let's check it out. Nothing. Alright, what did I do? This props post. Oops, posts. That's the problem. Yep, that's there. Alright, so you can see that the only problem was I forgot the S on the end. So first it was checking if this props post exists, and that doesn't exist, right? So there we go. Okay, cool. So now we can see we're able to use map, and we could also use filter and sort, which I think is a lot easier to work with, which is the whole reason for this, for changing this so that we can work with it here. Now we have our titles, and actually I wonder, if I could just display. I can't. How do I? There's got to be some way to turn this into a string, isn't it? Like stringify something. I see. Sorry, I didn't check out the live chat. You all saw ahead of time what the problem was. Let's see. Stringify. So I could do like. Let's try this. See if that'll give us something. Alright, cool. Okay, so this looks really ugly, but just to show you, I was just trying to show you what comes out here in terms of what's getting passed. So I should have thought about it. I always get nice formatting because I have this plugin with JSON, so now this is pretty much unreadable, but anyway, let's get back to something more readable. Okay. I'm pretty sure I've used up my time for that Pomodoro session. I've lost my, where am I at? Why am I getting something from? What did I do? Oh, okay. I didn't go back far enough. There we go. Alright. And there we go. Yeah, so my timer is up. So I'm going to go to the live chat and let's see. I'm going to scroll back up to where I left off. And if you can't stick around for the question and answer session, I totally understand. But if you can, if you have some time, I'd love it if you could help answer some questions or ask some questions of your own. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll be back again tomorrow, probably around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's go. Where did I leave off? All right, so I'm just going to go down through the list and answer, hopefully have time to answer all the questions. I know yesterday I had to cut it off pretty quickly when I got to the bottom of the questions, but today I haven't gotten any messages from my boss, so I should be okay. Let's see. Nice about page. All right. So there's some more comments on my about page photo. Okay, so John B asks, John B says, I haven't worked with Redux myself before. What is the slug supposed to be? The slug isn't a Redux thing. Okay, and it's like William already answered. So it's a WordPress thing. Yeah, so in WordPress normally, well, there's several different ways you can have the URLs display, but I think the best way to do it is have the slug be part of the URL. So whatever the slug is for that post ends up being what's after the slash in your URL. And it's also a unique identifier for the posts, and pages have their own slugs too. Okay. I've had some requests to speak Hindi. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Hindi, so apologize for that. Although if someone would like to translate these streams into Hindi and have them available as captions, that would be awesome. That would probably be a lot of work, but it would be a good way to contribute to freeCodeCamp. So if you're interested, that's definitely an area where we need more volunteers. Not just for Hindi, but for any language. Okay, John Hansen asks if Fetch is supported on all current browsers. I think, actually, I haven't even checked. I always use a polyfill, so I can't answer that question because it doesn't really matter to me because I use the polyfill. So that's what my recommendation anyway. If you're going to use Fetch, use a polyfill with it, and then you don't have to worry about it. But I do think browsers are, I'm pretty sure Chrome can handle Fetch, but I guess it's worth checking. It might be good to know. Alright, here we go. If you're not familiar with caniuse.com, definitely a good site to memorize that URL. It's really easy, caniuse.com, and then you just type in whatever thing you're trying to use, whether it be in JavaScript or CSS, and you'll immediately get this chart. So we can see if you want to use Fetch, obviously IE11 doesn't support it because it doesn't support anything. Edge, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, iOS Safari, even, wow, Android, Chrome for Android. So basically it will work except for Opera Mini and Internet Explorer 11. And it has been supported even in previous versions of Safari and Chrome and Firefox, so awesome. So evidently Chrome is fetch is pretty usable right now. It certainly depends on what you need to support, though. Let's see. William, a little while back, said, "We'd love to continue watching, but it's meeting time, so probably not watching right now, but good luck with the meeting, and thanks for watching and contributing in the live chat." Kevin, I'm so sorry. So I just read a few comments after the original question about fetch. Kevin said, for compatibility questions, Google can I use, and then the feature name. So anyway, so sorry, Kevin, that I just tried to tell everybody about this when you already had. So Kevin was on top of things there. Marco says, Axios or fetch, which is best for big JSON files? I've never used Axios, so I don't know. But Rohan says, go with Axios if you want backwards compatibility, otherwise fetch is good. John B says, you might want to chain another .then method to catch any errors in the event that the fetch request fails to retrieve the data. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea, John B. So we'll have to add that in. I'm not going to go back right now, but yeah, definitely. Normally you wouldn't want to, like, if for something that's in production, you do want to catch errors. So he's talking about here when we did our fetch, we would want to add in another then and then catch errors like that, and possibly, you know, do something with the error, right? You display a message or whatever, however you want to handle that. Let's see. There's actually I've seen some interesting ways to handle errors when fetching data with Redux. So maybe for the next stream, I'm going to look up some of that, and we can implement something like that. Let's see. Marco says, I'm developing my portfolio right now. I was using Preact, and that's frustrating, so I decided to use React instead. React is a good choice for something like Is React a good choice for something like a small portfolio? Rohan says that React is probably overkill for small websites. It doesn't mean you can't do it. If you're comfortable with React, go for it. So, yeah, it depends on what you're doing in your portfolio site. Sorry, I'm a little tired. Yeah, it depends on, I guess, on what you're doing. I mean, a portfolio site could be really simple, one-page thing, or I mean, some people's portfolios are amazing, and they're like a work of art, and they're displaying their skills, right? So I wouldn't say right off the bat React's overkill for a portfolio, because it entirely depends on what you're trying to do with your portfolio. If you want to market yourself as a React developer, why not do your portfolio in React? Then your portfolio itself is going to be evidence of your skills at React, even if it's overkill, right? So, or if you want to learn React, if you're trying to get better with React, then yeah, make your portfolio with React. Will it be overkill? Probably, but it'll get you practice with something that's kind of simple, just to get you used to using React. So, if the question is simply, is it overkill? The answer is probably yes. But if the question is, should I use it? Then, yeah, I mean, I would say there's nothing wrong with using it if that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to learn. Let's see. Okay, so Kevin says, as an alternative, Next.js is an easy way to set up a site with React. Yeah, definitely. I definitely recommend that. So one good thing about Next is you don't have to worry about routing. So if you're just doing a very simple site and you didn't need any custom stuff going on in the back end, then you just have, is it called your views folder? I think maybe it's the pages folder. So anyway, there's a folder that you use in Next, and any components you put in that folder, automatically it'll route to those. So it takes care of routing for you. It takes care of server-side rendering for you. So it handles a lot of things. You know, like right now we're using React Router, and we're handling our routing. Now it's not hard, but that's just one extra thing that you have to learn. So if you're just starting out and it's something simple, Next is probably the way to go because it handles so many things for you. It's much easier to learn, I think, with Next. Create React App is also pretty easy to learn, but it doesn't do quite as much for you as Next does. Okay. Blake says, in response to the same question here, just go with plain Bootstrap and HTML. You're just building a portfolio, and by doing so, you'll save a lot of time for another bigger project with React. Okay, that's another viewpoint I hadn't even thought of. Yeah, so if you just want to move on to make something really cool with React, then maybe you just throw together that portfolio with the basic tools, right? HTML, Bootstrap, or something like Bootstrap. Yeah, and then do something else with React. So I get, it kind of does depend on how much time you want to put into this as well. Rohan says, I support going with vanilla JavaScript and add libraries to the project if you need them. Vue if you really want to play with a framework. Okay, also, when we use the term vanilla JavaScript, I know most of you probably know what that means, but I don't remember if it was a comment on a video or something, but I saw somewhere where someone didn't know what vanilla JavaScript meant. So just in case, I want to explain that. So vanilla JavaScript just means regular plain JavaScript with no other frameworks or libraries added in. So it's as in like vanilla is usually seen as like the plain. I mean, even though technically vanilla is a flavor, right? It's plain. So like vanilla ice cream is plain, all right? It's not chocolate or you know, like Rocky Road ice cream or something. You know, it's just the plain. So that's what we mean by vanilla JavaScript. Let's see. Leon says, how do you get posts in your component? You didn't pass it to the store through the reducer, or did I miss something? Okay, let me see. So let me just walk through some of these steps just in answer to this question, just to show what happened. So let's see. So let's start out with at home. So in our component here, in our home component, when the component mounts, we're fetching the data, right? So we're dispatching this action to fetch posts. Let's go to our actions now. So, oops, that's our reducer. So our actions are over here. So fetch posts makes the API call here. This API call returns our data. All right, and then all right, we're returning, you know, data.json ultimately. So that gets out here. So that's what goes in here to this then as posts. So this that is getting passed on. It's dispatching get posts. So now that data, the post data, goes here. From here, this is where, what's our reducers? Okay, our reducers take over, and then in so we're bringing in get posts from actions. So when get posts is passed in, it's also passing in all that post data right from here, and we're passing that through, of course, our make object function and returning our new object with our key value pairs. That gets merged with whatever was in the state. So this is what ends up going into the store, and now we go back to the home component, and now whatever was in the store as receive posts now becomes posts in our props for this component. So that's basically the flow. Is there other stuff going on behind the scenes? Yeah, definitely, but we don't have to worry about that because Redux takes care of that for us. So hopefully that was somewhat intelligible. I don't know that I'm the best person to explain that, but hopefully that helped. Let's see. Chicho says, "Whoa, man, stop being rude to people. Let them be." Was I being rude? I don't see anybody in the comments that was being rude, so maybe I was being rude. Let me know. If I was, I'm sorry. Let's see. Yassine says, "How much JavaScript should I know to learn any JavaScript framework?" I honestly, if we want to take framework loosely and just include like any framework-like thing or library, which I don't want to get in debate over framework versus library now, but let's just say you could use jQuery without knowing very much at all about JavaScript. It's really easy. If you wanted to get into something a little bit more advanced like React or Angular, I would say you'd have to have more knowledge about JavaScript. But I don't think that you should wait to become a JavaScript expert before you move into a framework, because they can handle so many things for you that there's really not... There's value, I guess, in knowing how to do it, but it's almost like a waste of effort to try to redo things in vanilla JavaScript that are already being done really well and have been tested thoroughly by in frameworks. So I think at some point learn the basics of JavaScript and then move into a framework and then continue to build up your knowledge of JavaScript as you do things, right? So I was looking back at our project 1 and some of the code for that earlier. I was making some updates to it, and just looking at that already, and that's only been a few months ago. Already my knowledge of JavaScript has increased so much, but I've been building everything in React. So yes, I've been using React, but my JavaScript has gotten better as a result. So you can do both. You can build up your skills in JavaScript while you're using framework or a library. So I'd say, like, if you get to the point where you understand enough JavaScript to be able to understand how to use the framework, then go for it. Just remember that frameworks come and go, so don't stop improving your JavaScript, because that's what will get you through the shifting of frameworks, and you'll be able to keep up with things better. Josh says OHIO. So, all right, maybe Josh is from Ohio as well. Yeah. So, although I live in Ohio now, I am still a mountaineer at heart. So, for West Virginians, the one like big college football team in the state of West Virginia's mascot is a Mountaineer, so that's why I say I'm a Mountaineer at heart. Okay. Rohan says that is a nice photo. The photo of on my website. Blake says love the photo. Sebastian says yep, great photo. Kevin likes it too. Thanks everybody. Thanks. I don't know. I think I look kind of silly with my hair long, but oh well. John B said I think your phone is ringing. My phone was ringing, but I think it was a spam caller. So if anyone ever tries to call me, leave a message, because I never answer my phone unless I know who it is. Because I just get so many spam callers that like it's a waste of time to keep answering my phone. Let's see. John B said for the home page to make a giant heart image, because home is where the heart is. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll throw that in. Okay, so we had some discussion over the best way to do that make object function that we had in our reducers. So I'm going to skip over that, although that was a good discussion. But let's see. I think it'd be hard to understand if I just try to read out all the code that's being posted for that. Let's see. It's a lot of discussion still about that. So I'm scrolling down. I'm looking for another question. Okay, so Matt said for the API call you can use async await instead of then. Okay, cool. So yeah, Matt, if you're still watching, look into async await. Okay, so I see your further comments on that. All right, I'll have to look into that. So in general, is async await a better way to do this than then? So if anybody has any opinion on that, let me know. I'll definitely check that out. I'd like to do it the most efficient way I can. Marcos asks if I'm using Material UI or something like that. I will be using Material UI for this project. So I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to use the newer version of Material UI or the older version. We'll see. If you remember for our last project, at the beginning they just came out with Material UI, and we tried to use it on like the first day it came out, or at least the first week, and had some trouble with it and switched back to the old version. So I don't know. Well, that's yet to be decided, but we're definitely going to use Material UI in some form. Let's see. Okay, so John B says if I use JSON stringify and then I would have done post, comma, null, comma 2, it would indent the JSON values by 2 spaces and it would be more readable. Cool, I didn't know that. Awesome. I mean, I don't usually have to use JSON stringify to display stuff, but that's really good to know for when I do. So Deep says, how do I code the Minimax algorithm for tic-tac-toe? I mean, I understand the concept, but having trouble coding. Any tips? I haven't actually worked on that one myself, so I can't help you out. I watched the video on it. If you're not familiar with that, so Bo did a video on making a tic-tac-toe game in JavaScript. So it's here on the freeCodeCamp. So I haven't tried it yet myself, so I don't know that I can answer that. Maybe if anyone else in the live chat now has worked on that, you know, maybe you could add something here in the chat. Srikanth asks, is this playlist a little more advanced than playlist 2? Let me think. What was playlist 2? What projects was that? Was it the Resource Center? Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a little more advanced, only because we're using Redux. So it's going to seem more advanced, but I think it's going to help. It's going to help us a lot more with handling our data. So if you remember in Project 1, we were making similar API calls to WordPress. So it's going to be a nice comparison to see, basically, to make a similar app using, in the first case in Project 1, not using Redux. We use Next to bootstrap the project. And then instead, in this project, we're still going to be making the same API calls, doing a lot of the same things with the data, but we're going to use Redux. And then we've also used Create React App. We're going to use React Router. So it's going to be doing this very similar things, both using React, but in two different ways of using React. So I think it'll be cool. It'll be a nice comparison. Pilev says, just want to say thank you so much. If you drop by India, New Delhi, let me know. I will be more than happy to treat you for all the effort. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Cool. So I don't have any plans to go to India right now, but you never know. Maybe I'll see if there's any conferences, JavaScript conferences in India, and maybe I'll apply to speak there. I've actually never been outside of my own country, so it would be cool. India would most definitely be the farthest away I've ever been. Let's see. Oh, also, I did want to mention it. I think I mentioned this last week at some point, but I will be in Nashville, Tennessee, here in the United States, at the end of November. I think it's November 27th and 28th. So if any of you are in that area, let me know. If you'd like to meet up, somewhere, and that would be cool. I'm gonna go to the Nodevember conference that's gonna be in Nashville. So if you can make it to the conference, that would be cool as well. But I'll only be there for maybe like 2 or 3 days, so I won't have a lot of time. But it would be cool if anybody's interested. Let me know. Bird Person says, hello, hi campers, how are you doing, Jesse? Not bad. So it was somewhat productive today, so that's always good. Nisar says, what CSS framework are you going to use? Let's try Bulma. I was actually going to use Material UI, so I know I just said that, and I know you'd asked the question before I mentioned that. So I've never used Bulma before. I've heard it's been recommended before in the live chat. So actually, I don't know. Let me know. Is Bulma, does it play nice with React? I'm going to look this up right now. Okay. All right, so it looks like it's like Bootstrap. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, actually Bulma looks really cool, but for this project I'm going to go with Material UI, especially because we're going to want to keep the same user interface as basically what we're going to replace. So we already have a bulletin site that is in use right now, and it's going to be replaced with what we build right now, but I'd like to keep a similar UI, and it's already using Material Design style, so it'd be much easier to recreate that if we go with Material UI. But I'll keep Bulma in mind for a future project, especially maybe for a side project. For projects for the university that I work for, these are the projects that I always stream, I like to keep things a little bit more consistent to make it easier for, not just for me, but for other people who might have to come in and work on these projects. Like if we hire new people on, or if something happens to me and they replace me, I think it would be easier to have more consistency with things. But I'm open to trying out new things when I can. Let's see. Alright, so Sebastian basically just explained what I just said. So he said all the websites for the university that he works for follows material design guidelines. Yeah, that's true. But then Sebastian added, at least the new ones. The old websites are a mess. I'm not going to argue with that. Our old websites are... there was no consistency at all in the design. And... I don't know. I'm not going to say anything else, but just that's the nicest way I could say it, is that there wasn't consistency. Cool. Let's see. Okay, David says for catching errors in the fetch, it would be better to use .catch instead of .then. Okay. Cool. I'll have to check that out. It's going to be better. Okay, so Kevin says that using async await is generally better to use with fetch. So, okay. Okay, so Marco says there is a project that's React Bulma UI. So, okay, so we could try that for a React project. So, like I said, for this one, we need to go with material design, but you know, potentially for other projects, we could switch it up and try that out. So thanks for letting me know about that, Marco. And also Nisir, I think it was, yeah, Nisar mentioned that as well earlier in the stream. Okay, cool. So Kevin has put some code in there for the to use async async await with our fetch. So thanks for that, Kevin. I'll try that after the stream, depending on what time it is. Yeah, I'll probably have time. Let's see. All right, and Matt says don't forget the catch. Okay, cool. I've gotten to the bottom of the live chat, so gonna end things now. If anybody has any other questions outside of the live chat and the live stream time, we have a Slack channel, and I don't remember I think the Slack channel, we have a link to that in the description. Otherwise, let me know. Send me a message or something, and I can send you the link. So we have a Slack channel. You can send me messages on Twitter or any other social media platform, and of course, you can put comments to the videos. You can certainly put issues in all the GitHub repos, submit pull requests if you would like, and use any of the repos you want. Take any of the code and use it on your own projects. So. Does the Slack... Oh, Marcus says the Slack doesn't work. The link for Slack doesn't work. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Thanks for letting me know. I'll check into the Slack to see what the problem is. Okay, cool. I'll have to get a better link then, though. So, yeah, I didn't know. So I'll work on that. I'll do that right now before I forget. So as soon as I end the stream, I'll check out what's going on with that link and try to get an actual working link in there for the Slack channel. All right, so thanks everybody for watching, and had a lot of activity in the live chat, which is awesome. It's always great when everybody's helping each other out. And let's see, I will be back tomorrow. I'm just checking my calendar quickly because I don't think I've checked my calendar at all yet today. And yeah, I think I'm free tomorrow afternoon, so probably 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. We'll be back. I'm thinking we'll probably work on this project again, unless something else comes up that I really need to work on or I think will be interesting. We'll be right back on this, doing some more stuff with Redux. And maybe we'll bring in some UI components from Material UI as well. All right, so I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.